Matthew from FiberglassSupply.com here. In this video, we are going to show you how we install these FCS Fusion Fin Boxes into the surfboard. This particular surfboard has a gray laminate. It's a colored laminate, and so in order to avoid splotchiness around the fin boxes, we're going to put them in after we glass. So we need the FCS Fusion Jig to do this job. We need a laminate trimmer or a router, and we need the FCS Fusion router bit. So let's get going. So we're going to start out by setting our fin jig up with our fin markings and getting that centered up and squared away. Once we have that in the place we want, we're going to use a little masking tape around the perimeter to hold that jig in place while we route. Normally for routing on foam we won't do that, but because this is the center box here and because we're going over to fiberglass, we're going to tape it in place and just make sure it doesn't move around on us. Once we have that taped in place, we're going to come in with the router and we're going to route that out. Again, we're using the FCS Fusion Jig here and the router bit with the top guide bearing for that. Carefully route that out, and you'll notice we've got some debris that's going to come out of there, and you want to wear eye protection and ear protection as well as respiratory protection when doing this. It is a messy job. Having a vacuum handy will help keep that clean. So I work the stringer out first, and then once the stringer's out, I'm working around the perimeter. That way, if any of the chunks from the stringer shoot off into the board, they're most likely going to end up in an area that I'm going to route out anyway. And once that is routed out, we'll go and route the other two holes and get those done. So I sped up the video here. Same process. We've lined it up with the marks on the board. We're just going to route that out. It goes a little bit faster when there's not a stringer in the way, and it's a bit easier. So we'll get that hole routed out and repeat the same thing on the other side. Once we have those all routed out, we're going to grab some fin boxes and dry fit them. One of the things you need to know on the Fusion fin boxes is they do come with the cant angles built into them, and so you can check with us, but I think it's 0, 3, 5, and 9 degrees are the standard fin cants. So you might change that depending on the bottom contour of the board. A 3 to 5 is kind of standard for most contours. So we have those routed out, and now we're dry fitting those in. So you see they fit pretty snugly, which is good. And we're just going to dry fit them and then use our dummy fins to get those back out of there, and also to help us install them once we have resin that we're putting in there. Just want to check the fit, make sure they fit well. Again, that's the dummy fin right there, and we'll use that to get the box back out without destroying anything. You could use a regular fin if that's what you had to. Once we've got that out, we'll go mix up some resin and glue those in place. So we're just going to glue these in place with straight resin. In this case, we glassed this board with epoxy, so we're using epoxy resin. If it was a polyester board or polyester resin glass job, we'd use polyester resin. And we'll just get that in there. We're going to paint up the sides of the box, make sure we got some resin up in there, and then we're going to press this fin box in place. It is a really snug fit, and it may take some pressure to get that in place, so we're going to work that down in there and just kind of wiggling it around and getting that excess resin out. Once we've got that box in place, we'll go ahead and do the other two boxes as well and just get them down in place. So again, I'm putting some pressure on here. What I'm looking at is my fin box just slightly below or at the level of the board, and I'm using a squeegee to clean up any squeeze out and keep that out of the fin holes. So once I've got that cleaned up, I'll go and do the other two. Again, just kind of pressing that in and getting all the excess out. In this case, I didn't feel like there was enough resin in there, so I'm going to paint a little more on the box and then stick it back in place. Once we've got that in place, we'll go ahead and do the center fin as well and get that done up. I can remove those jigs at this point, and we'll glass over those here in a second. what I just want to do is check before I glass over and make sure I didn't get any pushback, any hydraulic pushback from the resin, and the box is still in the correct place. So we're going to get that buttered up. Got some resin in the hole, and press that into place. You can see we've got some squeeze out. If you're going to leave it to set, you need to make sure you get that squeeze out off right away. In this case, we're actually going to glass over these immediately with these glass patches. Now keep in mind, what we are showing here is installing a Fusion Fin box into a board that has already been glassed, so this could apply also for a ding repair. In this case, we did it after the glass instead of before the glass because we used gray pigment in the lamination. If we'd done it before the glass, that would leave a really ugly area where the fin boxes are that would be uneven in color. So what I'm doing right here is I'm applying stickers that go over the fin screw hole and over the opening for the fin tab. This will keep resin out of that as we glass over it. So once we've got those on, we'll drop our glass patches over the fin boxes and wet those out with some resin. We're using 6-ounce glass here, so we're just going to put down one patch. You could do 1 or 2. If you're doing 4-ounce, I would definitely do 2 patches minimum. And I'll drop that patch in place, pour out a little resin over it, and give that resin some time to soak in. That makes it easier when we come back with the squeegee because the patch is less likely to slide around on us once that resin's soaked in a little bit. So we're going to use the squeegee, get it all wet out, and then squeegee off the excess. Once we've got those all wet out, we'll let it sit and cure up, and once that has cured, we'll come back and we'll do a paste coat around the edges. And all the paste coat is simply just some resin with a paintbrush, and we're going to paint over where the edges of the cloth are. Provides a little extra resin that allows us to pair that fabric in, and then if there's any pits or voids at that edge, it allows us to fill those. Alright, we're going to stop right there, but the next step would be to sand the board and open up the fin boxes. So to recap real quick, we cut the fin box holes into the board that's already been glassed. We set the boxes with some epoxy, and then after that we covered it with a patch of fiberglass and paste coated that patch so it would blend when we do our hot coat and our sanding. So thank you for watching this video, and we'll see you soon.